Okay, so I have some notes on my phone here. But we're talking about white collar crimes, and these are crimes that are easy to commit, but they are difficult to detect. And so, as far as security crimes are concerned, the first one is churning, and that is the practice of treating a client's shares of stock, um, trading it many times in order to generate large commissions. So, for example, a broker earns commission on every trade, whether that stock increases or decreases in value. And so churning is difficult to prove because the brokers are allowed some discretion. And so typically, um, basically, unless it's proved in writing, a claim of churning, it oftentimes doesn't amount to much of anything because it more so turns into that client's word against the brokers. So that's what we see with that and churning. And then you have what's called insider trading. And so that is when someone is using financial information that is not yet public to get unfair advantages in trading securities. So this would be someone with access to confidential corporate information, and this can make significant profit by buying or selling a stock based on that information. And so one case that is brought up in the book is the Martha Stewart case. And, she was accused of insider trading. And I remember this case, and I just remember thinking, Martha Stewart, why is she going to jail? And so she was accused of selling thousands of shares in stock just prior to the company's announcement that it had failed to receive Food and Drug Administration approval for an anti-cancer drug. So this is just one example of insider trading and how it works. And so there's another case that is mentioned in the book, and this case is with Dennis Levine. And so he was charged with insider trading after he had information on several corporations such as Telegraph, Sperry Corporation, American National Resources, and McGraw Edison. And so he had information on these companies, and then after he was exposed, him and other Wall Street executives, they had already made millions of dollars in legal profit by this time. So, moving on to stock manipulation, which is really common in the pink sheets, as the book describes it, over-the-counter market, basically. And so this is where some stocks are traded at extremely low prices, but it's not limited by any means to such stocks. So brokers who have stake in a particular stock, they may make, misleading or false statements to clients, giving them the impression that the price of the stock is about to rise, and so this creates an artificial demand for that stock. And so that is the manipulation. And so then finally, you have boiler rooms, and these are operations run by stock manipulators. So they're running these boiler room operations, and they are deceitfully and constantly, giving out misleading information and misleading sales techniques, and using those to seduce people into buying these obscure and poorly financed corporation stocks. And there have even been, federal and state reforms passed on this issue. However, the manipulation still continues. And in the book, it mentioned that it's really significant down in Florida and that the state has even warned the public about it. So when thinking about all these crimes, it occurred to me that most of the people that are committing these white-collar crimes, they're well off. And they seem to have a lifestyle of someone who would be a law-abiding citizen, according to what we've been learning this semester. However, we see a lot of these white-collar crimes occurring, and I just thought about the social disorganization theory, which states that, people living in similar environments act in similar ways. And so I think we see a lot of these white-collar crimes being committed by, obviously, these well-off people. And so I think it rings true to these white-collar crimes because you see a lot of people getting away with it as well. And so I think that there's a lot more going on than we see and that is reported on. And so the environment that they're in and the lifestyle that they're in, they're seeing it played out around them constantly. And, that could have some explanation to why these crimes are being committed. Next, we were asked to talk about consumer fraud, which is a pretty broad category. It broke it down in the book with all the examples of consumer fraud. But yeah, it's a broad category, and basically consumer fraud is surrendering money, through deceit or misrepresentation of material fact. So it can range from healthcare fraud to internet fraud. Telemarketing fraud is another form, land fraud, business opportunity fraud, home improvement fraud. And so, all these things fall under the umbrella of consumer fraud. And I think that telemarketing frauds, I get calls like every day asking about my car's extended warranty, and people are getting scammed every day through these fraudulent activities. And so with these cases, I found them to be a little bit different than necessarily like the white collar crimes. And there's also a lot more forms of these types of crimes, whereas the white collar crimes have a lot more to do with stocks and whatnot. But in the cases of consumer fraud, I thought about the institutional enemy theory, which states that crime can be explained simply by American society and the emphasis of economic success that we have here, and, that American dream. And so, these can be factors in these types of crimes. So with the telemarketing fraud and, the deceptive advertising, I feel as though this theory explains these things well, because at the end of the day, these people are doing these things as their job. And, this is how they feel that they can achieve that economic success and that status, and that is what's most valued over anything. So it doesn't matter if you're scamming someone's grandma, telling her that you're selling her a product and you're not, because that's the American dream. And so I think that those pressures of status and things like that, it's so prevalent here. And so I think that's why we see a lot of these scams and a lot of these frauds going on. But yeah.